can be unpredictable, full of change. Some good, some not so good, and some complicated. But one thing is constant. One thing never changes.
All right. Is that how Preston starts his lessons?
Yes.
All right. Hello.
Hello.
My name is Mark. I will be your teacher this evening. All right. So, in this series, even if we've been talking about what have we been talking about through all of this? I heard somebody say it really softly like a church mouse, but I want everybody to say it like church elephants. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Change.
I love the church elephants sound. It's great. Have you ever thought about church elephants? Like, we'll talk about that later. So whether you're changing your hairstyles, changing friend groups, anything that you change changes a big deal, and it can make it feel like nothing ever stays the same, which in itself can be unsettling. Change is unsettling, right? Just by its very nature. I was 17 years old when I went to Harding. Harding is where I went to college, by the way. So I graduated at 17 in the spring, and then I didn't turn 18 until October, but I'd already been at Harding for like a month or two at that point. When I decided I'm going to go to Harding University in Searcy, Arkansas, number one, I had never traveled west of the Mississippi River. All right, does everybody know where the Mississippi River is? That's the big thing between here and Oklahoma. That's it. I'd never gone west of that. So I had never gone into Arkansas. I had never been on Harding's campus. And I get there the first time, and I knew nobody. I knew no one that had ever gone to Harding University. I knew no one that was at Harding University. I knew nobody. And that was for my campus visit. So when I actually met a couple, like a small handful of people at a summer get to know Harding sort of a thing, maybe one or two. And then so in the fall, when it's time to actually go to Harding, again, still nobody. No one that I went to high school with was going to be at this school. And I lived in Fairview my whole life. Does everyone know where Fairview is? No? Yes? Okay. Fairview is like the mud pile of Williamson County. If everybody else lives in Williamson County, Fairview is the mud pile. We always said that if Williamson County was making coffee, that Fairview would get the grounds. And that's kind of true. We always got the leftovers. We always had the leftover books from whenever Brentwood or Franklin would finish them. That's just what we always got, the leftovers. But in Fairview, there were 3 schools in Fairview. There was Fairview Elementary, Fairview Middle, and Fairview High. And you went to school with the same people from kindergarten until graduation, until the end. And so that was everybody that I knew. I knew people at church, but everybody at church went to Fairview. So there weren't people from other schools or other cities, other towns. It was like, you talk about living in a bubble. I lived in a bubble, and Fairview was that bubble. I didn't know anyone outside of there. I go to Harding, and there's nobody that I knew that was there. Now, I wasn't what you might say is like popular. People knew me, I guess, and I was always outgoing. Surprise. Sorry, I was outgoing in high school, but I wasn't really popular. But I didn't really have a hard time making friends and getting people, getting to know people and people getting to know me, whatever. I didn't have a problem with that. But I go to Harding, and I realize immediately that there's nobody that knows anything about me. And so nobody knows my parents. Nobody knows my grandparents. Nobody knows anything at all about this kid that shows up to Searcy, Arkansas in a 1998 Ford Focus mint green. It wasn't a cool car. It's 96. Sorry, it wasn't a cool car. Not a cool car. But 4 doors, it got me where I needed to go. And it got me there, okay? I finally got on campus, and before the first main event, I was there early, and I was sitting on a swing, just swinging, and this other guy walks up to me. He goes, "You look like you could use a friend." I said, "I could use a friend." His name was Curtis Kahn. Curtis Kahn is today one of my absolute very best friends in the whole world. He met me, he was the first person on campus that I met just because he walked up to me and said, "Hey, you could use a friend." We were buddies, we were pals, we lived together, but that's kind of how that came along. This was an enormous change. This was a change to everything that I knew, to where I was comfortable, to where I'd really set my roots, pulled up everything, and just kind of, threw me out to Arkansas and said, "Let's see what you can do." All right. When change happens around us, it often changes what happens inside of us. If there's anything for certain that we know about change, it's that it's going to change us. And this is absolutely true with me going to Harding. I didn't know any of the friends that I would make. I didn't know any of the teachers who would make a huge impact on me. I didn't know any of that stuff, but that made an enormous change in my life. So change is like, it's like it can make us become something different. When it came to me moving, there were a few things that did change inside me, or I guess a few ways that I chose to react. Maybe you can relate to some of these. Change can sometimes make us frustrated. I don't understand why I struggled to make friends on the front end, but I did. I guess I expected everyone to just see me and say, "Well, that's Mark. He's a nice dude. I'll be his friend." But nobody knew that I was the nice guy at that point. So I hadn't tricked any of them to thinking I was nice yet. Change can also make us feel out of control. Even though I tried to make friends, it took a while. I couldn't force people to be my friend. I couldn't make this college be like my high school, where I had my buddies, I had my soccer friends, I had my network of guys that I hung out with. I felt powerless. Maybe you felt that way too. Maybe you've got a new teacher this semester who makes one of your classes really, really, really tough. Maybe your parents have started fighting a lot and you feel like there's nothing you can do to help them get along. It all feels out of control, and we don't like things that we can't control. Does anybody just like things that you can't control, that are just kind of like sporadic and you don't have control over? Eric, are you kidding me?
Uno.
What?
Card games.
Oh, you like card games?
Yeah,
Okay, but even the card game, you've got some control over that, because when the card game's done, you put it back in the box, and off you go. It's not like life.
No. Oh, okay.
You're killing me, Eric! I'm just joking, I love you. Everybody tell Eric I love you. Say, "I love you, Eric." 1, 2, 3.
I love you, Eric.
Good job, Eric. See me after class. Change can make us feel like we're not having any fun. Let's be honest, nobody wants to not have fun. When we get used to things a certain way, it all looks different, and it's difficult. Nobody likes difficult things. Who likes difficult things? Raise your hand. Eric, keep your hand down. Who likes difficult things? Are you kidding me, Eric? You're new, Eric. You like difficult things, Daniel? Yeah? Okay. Elon, not surprising. All right. So even though I knew that going to college was probably the best move for me, it wasn't easy and it wasn't fun. When we get into a difficult situation, we tend to believe that it's never going to get any better, ever. When a friend moves away, we feel like things will never be the same. We'll never find another friend like him or her again. We feel like it's going to be like this forever. That's when we kind of look for an escape, right? A way out. We want to feel better, so we look for something that does that for us. And we look for something that we can control. When we can't control anything, if there's something that we can control, we're kind of drawn to that, right? It's a big reason why a lot of people are drawn to video games. When things are kind of going nuts, video games, up is up, down is down, left is left, right is right. You've got these 4 buttons or 6 buttons or however many buttons that do these 4 or 6 or 8 moves. You can control that. You can control that person, and that's why we are drawn to that a lot of times. But it's not always the healthiest way. We want to feel better. We look for something that does that for us. Over time, we learn that escaping the pain, it doesn't actually make the pain go away. It just makes the can roll away. In fact, it usually makes it worse. It makes it worse because when the escape is over, we're still faced with the same problem, which is honestly defeating, even disappointing sometimes. On top of that, we may have more problems because of that thing that we tried to escape to. It's more problems. And so we need to escape from that too, which is not a good cycle. It's never ending. You're always trying to control that which you can't control, and it's a thing. You can trust me on this. It's a thing. But here's the good news. When we're talking, what we're going to talk about today has the potential to be a game changer when it comes to dealing with difficult transitions in our lives. Today, we're going to look at a passage of Scripture from a letter written by James. Does anybody know who James was? James was the brother of Jesus. Jesus is always the right answer, right? You guys know about the little kid who was in the Sunday school class and his teacher said, "What's brown and has a fuzzy tail?" And he said, "Well, I know the answer is Jesus, but that really sounds like a squirrel."
Genius.
It sounds like a squirrel! James was the brother of Jesus. So this is what was happening in the world when James wrote to his followers of Jesus, who they started out as Jewish in his letter. One of the things he said was this: "Dear brothers and sisters, when troubles of any kind come your way, consider it an opportunity for great joy." Now, who can tell me what's the difference in joy and happiness? Are they the same thing? Are they different things? What's the difference in joy and happiness? Elin, what's the difference in joy and happiness?
Happiness is temporary.
Okay. What's joy?
Kind of happiness that is good.
If happiness is temporary, then joy it's kind of a permanent. It's kind of like a residing happiness, right?
Yes.
Would anyone disagree with that? So, when troubles of any kind come your way, consider it an opportunity for great joy. It sounds stupid, right? Honestly, can we say that sounds pretty awful? But no, there's wisdom to it. Consider it joy when you experience trouble. Especially, this wasn't just any trouble. This was the kind of trouble that could lead to death. But James isn't finished. Check out what he says next. "For you know that when your faith is tested, your endurance has a chance to grow." And that's in James 1, verse 3. Now, we're all familiar with endurance. We usually associate endurance with athletics, right? We train, we push our bodies past the limits. Our bodies adjust to the new limits over time, and then you train more. You train harder, faster, stronger, taller. You may struggle to lift a weight or to push against a certain amount of resistance, but eventually it becomes easier and easier and easier, and you become faster and quicker and stronger. And then you need to add more weight, more resistance. So it challenges you to grow even stronger. I don't know how you guys feel about working out. Do you work out, Deshaun?
Yes, sir.
Are you a big workout guy?
something like that.
Do you like to lift the weights? What's your favorite style of working out?
Bench press.
The bench.
Yeah.
The bench. Okay. You got those strong pectorals. Is that what you work out with the bench? I'm
Yeah.
guessing. Yeah. Okay. When I first started working out, I haven't worked out in a long time. I really haven't. But when I started, it wasn't easy. I mean, you when you start working out, everything is tough. You're using low weights, and you can only do it for like just a few reps, right? Do you know what I mean by reps when we're talking about weights?
Yeah.
Do you understand reps? Have you ever lifted a weight before?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He can bench 220.
You can bench 220.
Michael category. It's kind of too little.
Bench 220.
Pounds.
That's a good. Are we talking grams or are we metric or
I can pick up a
No
90-pound
comment.
person.
220 something? 220 pennies. You're just lifting $2.20 is what you're figured it out. But
Economics.
when you work out with resistance bands, do you know what these resistance bands are? They look like big, thick rubber bands, right? And you're lifting with them and picking them up and stretching and all of this stuff. But they come in a set of light, medium, or heavy. Light, medium, or heavy. If you start with the heavy one, what's going to happen? Frickin' nothing. Nothing is going to happen. You're going to go like, and that's it. That's it, because it's got too much resistance to it. You can't do it because you haven't built up to that level. Your ability to withstand the resistance improves over time. It's only after you endure the workout and build the muscle that you can successfully transition from light to medium to heavy. With every single rep, your muscles are changing, literally ripping and growing. Deshaun, ripping and growing. That's right. Talk about a change you don't want to face. And change is the same way. You'll be stronger the next time you face change, whatever that change is. Even if it's a change that you wouldn't choose. Change is rarely easy, but the hidden gift in showing up to face change over and over is that change can and will make you stronger. So build your endurance. Let it build you. James's words mean that endurance isn't just for the gym. It works in every area of life. When we work through pain and struggle of any kind, including the struggle to change, we don't just become better at that specific thing. We develop personal endurance. We develop an inner strength that can help us in other areas and challenges too. But then James says this, so let it being your endurance, let it grow, for when your endurance is fully developed, you will be perfect and complete, needing nothing. Nothing. Needing nothing. Essentially, James is saying that working through the pain and the hard stuff, which is endurance, it doesn't just make you better at the thing you're working on, but just learning how to change. And when that happens, you'll be the kind of person who James says is complete. You'll have joy and gratitude when circumstances don't go your way. You'll grow in character, in faith, and love. You'll discover you have everything you already need. It's like you're developing a muscle of endurance that will help you when you face any kind of change. And when you've got this perspective, every change you face is another chance to grow, to work that muscle, not just personally, but spiritually. So think of it this way. You'll be stronger even if. When it comes to change, our tendency is to focus all on the negative parts, all about the trouble and the pain that comes with it. But when we see change as something that has a trickle-down effect into every single area of life, we see that it's more about becoming better through the change than it is about becoming uncomfortable in the change. When we view change this way as an opportunity to grow stronger, we'll begin to see it as God sees it. Good change and hard change can be a positive thing because it's all about growing as a person, as a friend, as a daughter or a son. It's all about getting stronger. It's about developing better character. This would have been an idea for me to accept when I had to go to college, but when I look back, it's one of the greatest things that ever happened. It developed so many things in me that I'm grateful for today, and by the grace of God, I was able to make changes in my life for the better. See, the change that happened around me made a change inside of me, and that was absolutely for the better. The audience James wrote to at this time, they were dealing with their lives being threatened, so this was not an easy message for them to hear. But James is telling them that when we trust who God is and what He's like, we can be sure that He's doing something in us, no matter how uncomfortable the change may be. We can be stronger even if the change is uncomfortable. We can persevere and endure even through the change because we trust that God is creating a bigger story. The strength you work on developing now will be the strength you take with you into the future. Now that's important. That's important because you guys are going through some stuff right now that's forming who you're going to be tomorrow for sure. Next year, absolutely. In college, completely. But even into your adult lives. When you become as old as me, and you're probably one day going to be as old as me. I'm sorry. It hurts. Your hair is going to fall out. It's just going to happen. You're going to get fat. You're not going to be attractive. It just happens that way. Eric, you get what I'm saying. I'm just joking, Eric. I love you. Everybody say, Eric, I love you. 1, 2, 3.
Eric, I love you.
Change is an opportunity for God to work in our lives. So as we leave this series, what are some things we can do to apply what we've learned? Some things we can trust God even if it feels like more than we can handle. Here's a few ideas. Number 1, stop fighting change and embrace it. Embrace change for what it is. I want to encourage you to change the way that you see change. Start seeing it as an opportunity to grow your faith, grow your endurance, and to grow your character. God can do something inside of you when you face change, so trust Him to grow you through it. And accept it. Accept change as a gift from God. Number 2, think long term. Try to see the bigger picture. Change may not feel good in the moment, but know that God is writing a bigger story for your life than what's going on right now. He loves you. He wants you to live the best life possible. He can use your unique circumstances to help you become who you were made to be. You can trust Him. Things may not get better overnight, but they won't stay the same forever. Life is bigger and longer than your current circumstances. Even if it feels like it will never get any better, please understand that God is not done yet. He is not finished with you, and He is not finished writing your story. On top of all of that, remember that everything changes, but there are some things that never change. And when your life feels like it's changing all around you, God never changes. He's constant. He is the same from the beginning through all of time that He's the same today. His interest is in you. His commitment to you, His love for you, His availability for you never, ever changes. What if we saw change as something that made us better and stronger? Would that change the way that we see change? Your encounter group is full of people who can be great encouragers for you as you journey through different changes in your life. Don't be afraid to open up and be real about what's going on in your life. Remember, God can use change to make you stronger. He can also use the people around you to help you grow stronger through the changes you face. And He can use other people, He can use you to help other people grow stronger through the changes that they face as well. That's the end of my lesson. This is all that Preston gave me. I think it's good. I think it's good stuff. But we're going to go into the encounter groups right now. We've got snacks in the room. We didn't put anything out, so go grab snacks if you want to grab snacks. We're going to have a prayer and then we'll dismiss. Father, we thank You once again for this time that You've given us to be together, to praise Your name, and to just learn more about Your will for us, Your will for our lives. and how we can adjust to all of the changes that are going on through our lives, Father. Being in middle school and high school is not easy. Everything is changing all day long, and we just ask that you help us to embrace the changes that are happening to us, in us, and through us, Father. We thank you so much once again for Jesus, and it's in his name that we pray. Amen.